Hello everyone, welcome back to Responding from the Gap. So we're going to get into part 2 now. The part 2 is titled Signal versus Story. And our first episode is going to be about how the signal arrives first. So have you ever noticed how quickly that your mind can create a story? Someone responds to you with a short text message and suddenly it's, oh no, they're upset with me. Someone walks past you and they don't smile at you and they don't like me. Your chest tightens and you think that something is wrong when your partner sounds distracted and you're like, what did I do? Most of the time, the process happens so quick that we don't even notice that it's occurring. A feeling appears, a sensation enters, and instantly the mind begins constructing meaning around it. Not because the story is true, but because the nervous system is trying to create certainty. Human beings themselves, our brains, are meaning-making systems. The mind doesn't like unexplained sensations. It wants context, narrative, reason, prediction. So when a signal appears, the system is rapidly searching memory, past experience, emotional conditioning, and the pattern, trying to answer, what does this mean? And the faster or more emotionally activated that the nervous system becomes, then the faster that the mind can rush toward that explanation. This entire series is centered around the idea of responding from inside the gap. But before we can enter the gap, we have to slow the process down enough so that we can see it. And I spent nearly a decade learning meditation techniques. For real. I struggled hardcore with trying to meditate, with trying to silence those thoughts. And most meditation practices will encourage you to let thoughts rise and fall. And you observe them without attachment, just let them rise and fall. And eventually I became fairly good at quieting my mind. The goal was to make it quiet, right? But after years of practice, I also realized something pretty important. By focusing so heavily on silencing the thoughts, I was missing the process underneath them altogether. I wasn't asking, where are these thoughts coming from? And once I started paying attention to that question, a much bigger realization emerges. So thoughts, I noticed, appear after a signal. There's a sensation, a sound, a smell, memory, tone, body feeling. Over time, I began to notice that my thoughts were not appearing randomly at all. They were patterned in response connections to a sensory input and a conditioned association. So I encourage you to experiment this yourself. I encourage you to sit with your thoughts for a while. Just sit in silence, and as thoughts occur, say, what signaled this thought? Now be careful, because I'm not asking you to buy into the narrative. That is very important. I am not asking you what the story is that arrives with your thought. Not at all. I'm asking you to say, why did I think this? What caused it? There was something. There was a feeling. There was a sound. There was a vision. Something walked in front of my vision field and I saw it and I thought, oh, orange, and it went to this and it went to that and I had this thought. And that's what I'm asking you to do, is to look for the signal. Like when I talked about how when my heart was racing, that it made me think about hitting a car door that had happened the day before. The body sensation arrives first and the narrative forms around it. And I've noticed this with my CPTSD triggers. I've struggled with CPTSD for 14 or 15 years now. And sometimes it would be a tone that would throw me into a CPTSD trigger. Sometimes it was a facial expression. There was even smells, certain alcohols that could throw me into a CPTSD trigger. And this was before conscious thought ever even arrives. I have a signal that comes up first. And the nervous system is searching for its meaning. And once I began recognizing the signals before the story, I was able to get a grip on the reaction. I didn't have to be consumed by it. And that space is the gap. And inside the gap, new responses become possible. And it's important that you don't do it by acting like the signal wasn't there or the thought wasn't there. We're not trying to suppress emotion, but by recognizing the process clearly enough that the old automatic narrative is no longer taking over. And honestly, just the awareness of it, just knowing, starts to begin reducing your suffering almost instantly.